Agent of Foxglove Incognito by Lark Sabre. Read by Lark Sabre. Chapter 20 Lunch at Lefty's Part 1. Yum! The Roadster 2000 whooshed through the network of abandoned moleways at the breakneck pace Hunter had come to expect whenever Agent Wildflower got behind the wheel. Walloping will-o'-the-wisps! It's a good thing these tunnels are abandoned. If they weren't, at this speed, we'd dart straight up Mole's bum and come out of its mouth wrapped in half-digested worm meat. I wonder if the Roadster has windscreen wipers, mused Hunter, as the tunnel outside fled by like a thankfully fast-forwarded video of the most boring brown scenery imaginable. Once they were below Braddock's meadow, Agent Wildflower made sure to ascend up the ramp and through the molehill with more discretion than normal, given that she knew Lefty would be waiting topside. She didn't want to inadvertently tip him off that F.O.X.G.L.O.V.E were operating in the area. Above ground, Agent Wildflower also drove gingerly, at a pootling pace the Hunter could see was a strain for her to maintain, given the fact that she was a born speed demon. But apart from a frustrated grimace, driving like a grandma didn't distract from her laser focus on the mission at hand, at least not that her human partner could tell. Can you see that they're no good godbert, Agent Hobby, she asked, gritting her teeth as she resisted the urge to press down on the accelerator. No, not yet, answered Hunter, peering through one then another of the Roadster's white-wart portholes of one-way glass. But then, as they approached the self-same spot where Hunter had struck up an acquaintance with the Mobilinos the day before, there as arranged was Lefty Licino, casting shifty glances all about as he waited. Target identified, declared Hunter, getting into the swing of agent speak on day 2 of his new job, the one thrust upon his 7 3/4-year-old shoulders by a chance encounter with a fairy. Ah, I see him too, Agent Hobby, I see him too. Right, let's slowly... Agent Wildflower shuddered as she said that word. Slowly take the roadstool round the back of that weed clump we spotted yesterday, and I'll gob-size you. Don't forget to put your mask and Fay-bands on, Agent Hobby. Check, replied Hunter. A frantic minute went by smoothly. Agent Wildflower parked the roadstool and doubled her partner in height courtesy of some wand-waving honed at the wand-waving firing range. Next thing he knew, he was strolling towards Lefty Licino, gob-sized and masked up and carrying Lefty's spare Bogsy, the one ingeniously tampered with by super genius and scourge of squirrels everywhere, Dr. Nutkinstein. Hey Lefty, I'm here. I got dropped off at an alligator dock the other side of Braddock's Meadow, so thought I'd scan the area for any of those fairy feds whilst I waited. Flipping over those toadstool spymobiles is kinda moorish, and I feel invincible now I've got the Bogsy you loan me.
Hey, Joey Pumpkin, how yous doing? Looking sharp. You ready to meet the Licino family ding dong?
Lefty greeted Hunter / Joey Pumpkins as if they were bosom buddies from way back. Hunter didn't know if he was looking sharp, especially by goblin standards, or if Lefty was yanking his chain. He was wearing the same blue camo trousers and Mike Air cheapo trainers as yesterday, though his California surfer dude sweater was replaced by a long-sleeve Shrek t-shirt. Luckily, Shrek didn't look entirely ungoblin-esque.
Hey, Joey, who's that on your big city mini tunic? Is that the Don at the abandoned power station? You know only she-goths wear their mini tunics round here. Heh heh,
joked Lefty. He then proceeded to ramble on, as was his habit, before Hunter had time to invent a porky pie as to who Shrek was, or rather wasn't. Lefty just seemed to instinctively let his guard down around Hunter. More fool Lefty.
So Loretta's cooking you up a gobsnot pizza. She's a Gabella cook. Well, she's lost her looks a bit, but hey, living in a sewer ain't gonna keep a goblin-ass beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, gabish, Lefty, gabish, agreed Hunter noncommittally. He was always proud when his mum called him a little gentleman, and he didn't think it was very gentlemanly to agree that someone's wife had lost their looks, even if it was the husband saying it. Especially if it was the husband saying it.
Yeah, even gobos need to soak up the sun sometimes. Bet your abandoned power station's got windows and all the mod cons, am I right?
Remarked Lefty, staring at the November sky with a yearnful look, like a prisoner whose hour in the exercise yard was nearly over for another day. Lefty and Hunter stole over to the manhole cover past the raised verge on the northern side of the scabby scrubland. There was plenty for goblins to scavenge here in Braddock's Meadow, as the local teenagers were prolific litterbugs. This time, Lefty asked for Hunter's help in pressing down on the effort end of Lefty's goblin crowbar. This team of two certainly made less of a song and dance than John Gobby and Lucky had the day before, and the manhole cover soon clattered off with relative ease. They dropped rung by rung down the sewer man's ladder, and their bogsies glimmered into life. Thankfully, Dr. Nuckenstein had had the good sense not to soup up the beam of Lefty's spare in any way that would alert the periodically shrewd goblin to any tinkering. Lefty still wore his around his neck as an amulet, whereas Hunter wielded his weaker beam like a torch with a stubby handle. Lefty was whittering on, an endless stream of small talk peppered with goblingo, to which Hunter only had to grunt in the affirmative or shake his head in reply, and occasionally echo Lefty's interjections of "forget about it" and "gabish." His invisible walkie-talkie was in his trouser pocket, where it had remained ever since he first stuffed it there. A boy's pockets can be almost magical themselves, what with the near limitless storage space they provide for everything from smartphones to sweet wrappers. To be honest, Hunter had forgotten to return the walkie-talkie to Agent Wildflower, and she hadn't asked for it. He guessed it was to be expected that everyone would forget about an invisible item. He wondered if Puckett and X and the other agents had eavesdropped on him and Jerop trick-or-treating after he'd returned home. They could have done, and Hunter would have been none the wiser, though listening to Hunter and his brother chamming and slurping their way through their Halloween booty wouldn't have been of much interest to F.O.X.G.L.O.V.E, surely. Meanwhile, Lefty the Gabbo gabbled on. Before he knew it, Hunter and Lefty were waiting at the alligator dock. Sharona and Lincoln duly appeared, and though Hunter knew what to expect this time, he still had to conceal his fright at such proximity to a real live alligator, especially when he himself was now no larger than the kind of rat that never made it to urban myth status because it wasn't as large as a cat. They boarded Lincoln, and whilst Lefty talked and talked about the old days when he was a young gobster and how Hunter's entirely fictitious abandoned power station sounded like a gobster's paradise, Hunter couldn't help but notice Sharona was fluttering her neon lime green eyeliner and equally neon lime green mascaraed eyes at him, or rather at Joey Pumpkins, on the miasmic winding voyage through the tunnels of green brickwork. When Lefty and Hunter disembarked from Lincoln near the wobbly brick entrance to Little Whiffley, Sharona even bid Hunter a flirtatious farewell with the parting remark, "See you later, handsome." And bartering leprechauns, if the mask has this effect on her, perhaps I should give it to John Gobby and Lucky to fight over when I retire as a F.O.X.G.L.O.V.E. agent at the grand old age of 8 or so. But girlfriends are for losers, whether they're goblinesses or humanesses.
Hey, Joey, I think Sharona's sweet on you. That Guma is one coquettish gobliness, eh?
Chuckled Lefty, nudging Hunter for some reason. She's a gobella, Lefty, but I've already got a goblin girlfriend back at the abandoned power station, I'm afraid, replied Hunter, the fibs flowing like the bog water in La Gobra Nostra.
Hey, all the she-gobs love Joy Pumpkins, like that Ryan Goblin actor my Loretta's goo-goo get you bets about, eh? Forget about it. I bet John Gobby and Lucky would be green with envy. Grayy green with envy. Or greeny gray with envy. Hey, forget about it. You know what I'm saying, eh, Joey?
Oh, gabish, Lefty, gabish. Lefty and Hunter followed their bogsy lights down the last short tunnel, the one ending in the human wall with a wobbly brick. Here the flow of wastewater slowed until it fizzled out into a few easily traversable puddles. That is, easily traversable if you didn't mind a poopy-goopy splashback, which Hunter most definitely did. They reached the wall, and the gap they'd slipped through yesterday was still there in plain sight, the brick having not been repositioned as Lefty had ordered.
That goombot's mooklin, John Gobby. He's gonna get knocked down if he doesn't start showing his gabbo some respect,
cursed Lefty. Wherever he was, John Gobby's bat ears must have been burning. The two of them slipped through the gap into Little Whiffley proper, and Lefty hypocritically just left the wobbly brick sitting right where it was. Restoring the brick to its rightful place seemed to be an unpopular chore. Hunter didn't really imagine there was much threat of invasion down here in the sewers, except maybe from rats, which the Godbers straddled like hideous horses when the mood took them anyway. His school chum, Okababa O'Reilly, had lived in Ireland, and he once told Hunter that horses ran wild on the streets there. It was a similar deal with rats in Little Whiffley, though Okababa could never learn of this similarity. Undercover agents didn't blab about their work, And besides, Okababa might not appreciate Island being compared to Little Whiffley. Hunter doubted anywhere would want to be twinned with Little Whiffley, except maybe Big Whiffley, if there was such a place. They walked through Little Whiffley, which was full of the same apparently never-ending scenes of riotous nightlife as yesterday, despite it again being broad daylight above ground in the human world. Goblins swigging goblets of bog water over goblin card games. Goblin shindigs, indistinguishable from goblin donnybrooks, or should that be goblin shinbrooks, indistinguishable from goblin donnydigs. She-goblins in rags, screeching croaky goblin lullabies to gambinos swaddled in smaller scraps of rags, perhaps torn off from the mother's own tattered garments. Hunter could see why the Mobalinos were eager to reclaim some of the surface world back from humans, if subterranean life condemned goblin kind to a raucous slum, a tenebrous tenement of fatbergs lit only by bogsies, and smelling worse than the stench of manure blowing through the open windows of a country bus. Though perhaps it had something to do with the fact goblin gangsters ruled the roost down here as well. Humans have a lot to answer for. Humans, I mean, Hunter corrected himself. I don't want to start referring to myself as a humoke. My schoolmates will start calling me Crazy Hunter Hobby, just like the Gobbos call me Crazy Joey Pumpkins. Lefty stopped at a fairly nondescript, run-of-the-mill Fatberg hovel. It certainly wasn't as grand as the Gobra Nostra. It didn't look like Lefty's criminal career was thriving.
Well, Joey, welcome to my humble abode. This is Casalicino. Come on in. Whatever you do, don't wipe them mic airs like some humoke goombats. Loretta likes the floors nice and greasy, capiche? She's house proud like that. Come on, I'm gonna be a gobble gavone tonight. I'm starving.